Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends. I'm your host, Ray Shasho. Solar Music is pleased to announce the new album, From Here to Here, by American singer Tommy Roe. Tommy was known for chart-topping hits like Sheila and Dizzy and Sweet Pea and so many more hits during the age of bubblegum pop. While under contract, he was unable to express his own creativity, but continued to write songs. Producer Michael Franklin and Tommy started to unearth these writings in 2012, featuring the first single, Devil's Soul Pie, released on Solar Music on January 5th of this year, and in digital download and CD formats. So, please welcome 60s legendary top 40 hitmaker Tommy Roe and producer, composer, performer, entrepreneur Michael Franklin to Interviewing the Legends. Hello, guys.
Hey, how you doing, Ray?
Welcome, welcome.
It is.
So, Tommy, since you got this album out with Michael, does this mean you're unretired?
Well, that's a great question to open with. I think I'm coming out of my 5th or 6th retirement this year. We already have some dates booked with Mike's band, so I'm looking forward to getting back on the road a little. I'm not doing tours, no more touring, but I'm going to do some spot dates, and looking forward to it.
You got to change your Wikipedia page because it says you retired. That's like the first line of the page.
So that was put in Wikipedia in 2002.
Right. But you can go in there and change it. You know, it's easy. Anybody can do it, actually.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm back.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'm back.
You're back. It's official. Yeah. Tommy Roe is back. Let's talk about the new release, which I love, man. It's great. It's called From Here to Here. Produced by Michael Franklin in your studio. Michael plays keyboards on various tracks. Now, Tim Franklin, is that your son, Michael?
It's my brother.
That's your brother. Okay, so he played bass as well, right, on the album?
Yeah, he's quite a bass player.
Wow. But the songs are great, engineered, produced incredibly, and I was going to say the same thing about the Blues Image album too with Mike Panera. That's a beast. It's fantastic. But so the albums on the songs on the albums like Devil Soul Pie, very cool track.
Soul Pile.
Pie. Oh, it's Pile.
Pile.
Okay, Pile.
Devil Soul Pile.
Devil Soul Pile. What inspired this song?
Oh, that's kind of an interesting story. When I was growing up in the South in Atlanta,
right,
you know, as a going into my teens, maybe 12, 13 years old, my parents used to take my brother and I to these camp meetings where you'd have preaching all weekend from different preachers that have tents set up out in a field or a shopping center, parking lot or whatever. And you'd go from tent to tent and listen to the ministers do their sermon. Well, we went to this one tent one day, and this minister kept talking about the devil and how he collects souls. He's a collector of souls. And so in my mind, I envisioned this big pile of souls, whatever a soul looks like. And so I left there. My brother and I both, my brother was white as a sheet. So the devil was scared out of him. And I just filed that away. And I thought, man, that's an interesting thing, a devil's soul pile. So cut 1999, 2000, I was fishing with a friend of mine up in the high Sierras in California. And we were driving to the lake, and this sign came up that said Devil's Post Pile. And it's the name of a city in the high Sierras.
Right.
And click. I said, that's it. That's my title, Devil's Soul Pile. I just have to come up with some kind of a story to write about it.
Yeah.
So my idea for the lyrics was to do kind of a social commentary about crime in the streets and, you know, growing up without a functional family, dysfunctional family, without a dad, that kind of idea.
Sure.
And so that's how the song came about. It's like, you know, from the time I was 13 years old till I was like in my late 50s, and I ended up writing that song. So it's a very interesting song, I think.
Well, it's a great song.
That song, when I first heard that song, and I still say that today, I've said it a bunch of times. I have a friend in Saudi Arabia. He's an English guy, and he's a big Tommy Roe fan. And he always texts me about Tommy Roe. He reads something about Tommy Roe, he sends it to me. Boy, he loved Devil Soul Pile. And he told me, he said, Michael, I think Devil Soul Pile is a perfect song. And you know what? When I was working on that song in the production of it, that's exactly what I thought. I said, this song is so structured so perfectly. And then the arrangement with the 12 string and Randy Paul doing the backups,
Right.
it just came out so sweet.
Yeah, I agree.
That song is so strong. Years after we originally recorded it, it's still so good.
Yeah, I think we recorded it in 2012.
Really?
2012 was the first installation of this, I think you want to say.
Yeah, that's kind of when our whole project started. We cut, I think, 4 or 5 songs back then. And then, I had these new songs that I'd written, Midnight Lights and Frenchie and the Cowboy and A Rose, a Candle, and You. And so I was talking to Mike one day, and he suggested we go back in the studio. So I thought we could combine the new stuff with what we had already recorded and put together an LP. So that's how this whole project came together. And it kind of happened fast, didn't it, Mike? I mean,
the thing is that my studio team is basically the same people that did the original. So I tried to make it, conducive to be the same thing. I didn't take it too far out. And his writing pretty much dictates to me what I should do. Because I got to tell you, there's a couple people in my history. I was talking to one today who I'm going to record with, but Tommy is he's like one in my DNA. Me and my brother and our guys all grew up listening to Tommy's stuff, and then we got played with Tommy for a long time. So we all love it. We love the guy, and it's like, it's not like you don't know who you're working with.
Right.
You're working with a really good buddy.
Yep.
That you love his music and you're doing it the best you can. So that thread was on the whole record. Even in 4 songs, then 1 song, then another 4 songs.
It really shows. It's important to have that special bond with your producer. And Michael was telling me on another interview that a lot of artists kind of fight them, and give them heartaches, and they want to do things their way.
Well, they got a right to, they got a right of how they want their song to sound. But I think that I know Tommy and his music generally enough that I try to go in a direction, and then he likes it, and then okay, I did the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't do much correcting with Michael. I love what Michael does as an arranger. I mean, like he said, we write on the same page when it comes to working in the studio. He kind of knows where I'm going, and he delivers on the arrangements. I mean, it's just incredible. Is that right, Mike?
There's one thing I was thinking about. The band, we always loved the song Heather Honey, the original song Heather Honey. And when we played it, I loved singing that. My brother and I would sing. We had like a Everly Brothers kind of harmony that we did to it. And anyway, when I went to Ireland early this year, just before the recording, I was doing a video up in Enniskillen, Northern Ireland for my John Anderson project, for John Anderson, yes. And with a videographer, and my wife bought me a penny whistle at the Enniskillen Castle. So I took it, I'm walking around, and for whatever reason, I started singing it like it was an Irish folk song. And then it turned into what it did on that record. And man, I tell you what, I think subliminally, I always thought that was like, like up in the heather, up in the moors, he was singing it to a girl named Heather Honey, with the, that kind of thing. So it turned out great, man.
It is.
Really did.
Well, I told Mike, Heather Honey is like one of my biggest records in the British Isles, especially up in Scotland. It's like played a lot up there. I guess probably because of that, the heather and the whole feel of the song. But he nailed that exactly. And
Yeah.
I think when we do our show this summer, I'm going to open my show with that, Mike.
Huh.
Heather Honey.
You know what? The videographer, very famous videographer, his name is Mick Byrne, who does all the John Anderson videos. I sent him the CD because he did, some stuff for me. And he was up there when I was playing the penny whistle. I went to some Irish pub when I was with him, and the band Clannad was playing, which is a famous Irish band. And they just loved it. They loved the song. And they said that they were going to record a version of the song. And then at the same time, Tommy sends me a version of a song from Finland.
Yeah.
And if you ever heard something so crazy, is Heather Honey sung in Finnish.
By the Finnish.
Yeah, it's funny. I had to get that out to Mike. That was just yeah.
That's great. Real quick, I'm just going to go down a lot of the tracks on the album. Traffic Jams, another song I loved. Kind of Steely Dan feel to that. Very jazzy.
Sorry, busted.
Yeah, you and Mac Davis wrote that together. Is that right?
We did, yeah. Mac and I wrote some songs together in around 67, 68. And he used to write for our publishing company in Atlanta.
Yep.
And then he moved to California. When he came out to California, I'd already moved here. And when he came out, we started writing together. And that's one of the tunes that we wrote. And I always loved it. I recorded it in the 60s, and it's on We Can Make Music album. But I always thought it was, it should have been a single,
Right.
And that's why I wanted to re-record it. And I wanted horns on it too. So Mike did a fantastic arrangement on it with the horns and everything.
There's a sax.
So
there's sax on that tune as well, right? There's some nice sax. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the lyrics. So chewing their nails and pulling their hair. I like that.
We've all been there, Ray.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
In that traffic jam?
Traffic Jam. Yeah. I love it. Midnight Lights. I heard Van Morrison in that song.
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
Do they say that?
I guess I kind of nicked the chord progression. The melody is totally different.
I love that track. It's a great track.
The chords are kind of similar to Moon Dance.
Moon Dance, yeah. And A Rose, a Candle, and You. That was a beautiful song. Talk about that one.
Yeah, that was lyrically just a dream sequence, and I don't know where that came from. That wasn't some idea that I saw something that gave me an idea. I like that title, A Rose, a Candle, and You. I just started noodling around on the guitar and playing with some words. And it turned out when I wrote the line where I say, my bed is lying in the bed and my body becomes a pattern on my bed.
Right.
When I got to that line, that's created the whole dream sequence part of it. And then the next verse, I went to walking in my dream, and that put me in the dream. And then at the end, I'm standing outside the window looking at myself, and neither of us seemed to understand. It was kind of a weird,
a lot of different angles of perception of the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of an abstract dream sequence, really, is what it is.
But I really thank him for that song because, it gave me a chance. I love doing Baroque. I love doing something has sort of a classical, tint to it.
Right.
Into pop music, because I think people appreciate that.
Sure.
If it can be done. And that gave me all these counterpoints to do. And it worked out perfect. I mean, just every verse he sang gave me another palette to do a different thing,
Yeah.
Yeah. That song lends itself to exactly that arrangement. And Mike nailed it. He really did.
Frenchie and the Cowboy.
I always wanted to play rock harpsichord.
Yeah.
Frenchie and the Cowboy. That's a great title for a song, huh?
That's an old song I wrote back when I met my wife. And
really?
We met in 78.
Yeah.
we were together for 42 years. She passed away 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I wrote that right after we met, and I just kind of kept it in my back pocket all these years. I did a demo on it, and it was about our relationship. I mean, it was, you know, it's like two totally different kind of personalities end up being together for 42 years. It's got,
You know,
Did she teach you French?
an amazing kind of deal. But that's what that song is all about. It's about Josette and me.
I mean, that song, I knew exactly what to do with that song because I knew them. I knew her. She was more than a special individual. And the whole idea of the contrasting love. I mean, you know, I have to interject this. You know, when we used to play with Tommy, we figured, oh, Tommy's from Atlanta. You know, he's sort of a country guy, right? And at the time, the very first band I was touring with, we had a guitar player named Bill who grew up in Japan, could speak perfect Japanese. And we always like to go to sushi and stuff. And my brother goes, hey, we're going to go to sushi. We're on this thing called the Mall Tour. We were playing Mall.
Oh, yeah, right.
Really?
And so my brother goes, hey, see if Tommy wants to go to sushi. And Bill goes, I don't think Tommy wants to go to sushi. He don't know nothing about sushi. He's a Southerner. So I just called him up and I said, hey, Tommy, we're going to go have some Japanese foods, some sushi. Would you care to come with us? And he says, yeah, sure. So we go to the Japanese restaurant and we eat, and all of a sudden Tommy goes, Sumimasan, homachi kama aremasu ka? Or something. And so, you know, he knows all about sushi. And we're all like, what the heck?
I'm a buttermilk and cornbread guy, but I love sushi.
That's funny.
You know, the thing is, having a history with people and doing music with them, I think really, you know, really lends itself. That's what all the people that I've been working with. I mean, I just talked this morning to Lou Christie, and I recorded an album with Lou Christie like 40 years ago.
Wow.
And we never put it out. So I found it and I called Lou up and I said, Lou, I got to do this record. So we're going to do it. You know, he's also one of the guys that when I was touring with Tommy and Lou, probably the same shows, you know, but when you know
a lot of shows together
and you know their music, you can get in it.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
You know,
I'm very proud of this record.
Yeah. Woo. Oh, so am I. I think it's I gave it 5 stars, man. I think it's incredible. Oh. Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, it's another side to Tommy that a lot of people didn't know about, you know, because a lot of people know Tommy with all his hits, but, you know, this is the real Tommy, you know.
That was the idea of the album. It's kind of a transition album. Showing in other words, I was writing songs like that back then, but the label wouldn't let me record them, you know. I got into that bubblegum groove and they were selling. I mean, I can't complain about it. I mean, I sold tons of records. So, you know, it worked for me, but I was unable to really record some of my songs, you know. I have a song that I wrote that's called You Might As Well Forget Him. It was a big reggae hit some years ago. It was recorded by a multitude of reggae artists. And it's one of those songs that I wanted to record back then. They wouldn't let me record it. The Tams recorded it. They recorded it first. Then Jimmy Hughes recorded it. It's been recorded so many times. So I finally decided I'm going to record that song. I never recorded it. So I just recently did a recording of that in my studio, just kind of with the guitar and very simple arrangement. But
I think, you know,
I have a lot of songs like that.
Mac Davis was kind of similar. I mean, he had a lot of hits, but he didn't sing all the hits like you did, because a lot of his hits with Elvis, you know. Oh yeah. But you know, he had a lot of music that a lot of people don't know about, because he wrote so many songs, you know. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. You guys came out of the same. He came out of the same stable of the Atlanta, you know, Bill Lowry stable. Yeah. And Jerry Reed, you know, Ray Stevens, Mac Davis, they're all Buddy awesome. Bowie, love all those J.R. Cobb. Yeah. You know, we just lost another close friend, the Atlanta Rhythm Section. Dean Dartrey passed away last week. I did not know that. I didn't know that. The keyboard player. Yeah. Yeah, he was the sweetest guy.
I knew Dean for years and years. In fact, he played on a lot of my early records when I was recording in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And yeah, he passed away. I'm losing a lot of my friends, you know.
I know.
I
know.
It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, but, Jeff Beck hit me hard. I was a big Jeff Beck.
I had a deep blow this week. My dear friend, and Tommy knows him very well, Charlie Thomas of the Drifters.
The Drifters.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I was so close to that guy, and he taught me so many lessons. You know, he was taught by Louis Armstrong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Right. And Charlie gave us a lot of lessons. All these bands loved Charlie. And we played shows with Tommy and Charlie and Lou.
Yeah.
And, you know, what a great time. What wonderful people we had on these shows.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah. It was a great time to do music during the 60s. I tell you, it'll never happen that way again. The music business has changed so drastically.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful period and the music holds up like crazy. I mean, from that period, all of those great songs that were written by different artists and, you know, all and what was great about it is you could hear them all on the same radio station.
Exactly.
You know, it wasn't splintered like it is today, you know.
Well, you heard
niche for this and a niche for that.
You heard Tommy Roe, Frank Sinatra, and Motown all on the same station.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Flower power songs.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. One day, maybe I'd like to bring it back. You know, I was a top 40 DJ back in the late 70s, like 78, 79. So it was still okay. You know, I mean, disco.
You know what was good? Wave. What was good about it for the DJs as well is they could more or less pick and choose what they wanted to do. They weren't really, you know, controlled by the main office in Dallas, you know.
Exactly.
I mean, each radio station had a program director, but you could more or less play what you wanted to play. I mean, that's how Sheila became it.
Yeah.
Sheila was a B-side.
That's right.
And they played Save Your Kisses, the A side, and went nowhere. And Buddy Dean in Baltimore flipped the record and played Sheila.
Yep.
And as we used to say in the old days, the phones lit up.
Exactly.
So there it was. It was a hit.
Yeah, DJs had control back then. You know.
Yeah.
I had a playlist, but I was able to go out of that playlist and play what I want. So that, you know, had some freedom back then.
Exactly.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Kick Me Charlie. I think you should get Buddy Guy to do that song. Oh my God, I love that song. Very blues opening. Love the lyrics.
I love the arrangement.
It's fantastic.
I mean, the arrangement is just kick ass, man. I just love it.
Who played the harmonica? Who played the harmonica?
Okay, well, the guy I got to give credit for all that is one of my in my wheelhouse is Charlie DeShant.
Okay,
he's the saxophone player for Hall & Oates on all the hits, right? Now Charlie comes in and and the trumpet player didn't show up, right? So okay, I got to do this track, and what happens is Charlie goes in there and he plays my idea, and then he goes, I got an idea, and then he plays another one, and he takes out the Barry and plays a low one. Then hey, hell with the trumpet player, let me get the soprano. And so we put the whole thing together, and I said, man, this is going great. Like, Charlie, do this. Hey man, let's call this guy up to do a harmonica. He goes, I got a harmonica. The guy is just such a gifted musician, and all the guys that I'm with there, and they just dive in with, they're not like, oh, I don't really want to do it that good. They just do it as good as they can. Then I got a trumpet player later, but the arrangement that we put together that day probably came together in like 30 minutes.
Wow.
And it's really good.
Tommy, you wrote that, right? You wrote that song? Yeah. What I got to ask both of you, why are there bonus tracks? Why don't you just put that song on the album?
Which one?
Like My Little Josette.
That? Well, I recorded that out here with Michael Lloyd. And so we just put the 10 songs out. Then my afterthought was, can we still put it on the CD? And Mike said, it's too late. We've already gone, it's gone to a market,
Right.
So we just put it as a bonus track. And I wish we'd have gotten it on the CD. I was vacillating because I didn't know if I wanted to put another producer on the same CD as, Mike produced all of these sides.
Yeah.
And so I didn't, if that would be a good idea. But anyway, it's a free download if you purchase the CD.
I did another version of that song after he sent me that song. I did a Michal version of that song of with an accordion and the whole bit, very French. And I already set everything off. The CDs were supposed to be done, in another 2 days. So I was a little bit late.
Yeah, my afterthought was too late.
Yeah, his afterthought was too late. But I think it's fine because as a bonus track, they get a free bonus track,
Right.
And
right.
There you go.
I was just wondering why there were bonus tracks. There's a lot of people do have bonus tracks, So
my reason for putting bonus tracks on some things are like with the John Anderson stuff is that he has too much stuff to put on an LP. When you're doing stuff that's got an LP and you only got 17, 18 minutes aside and you've got more music that you want to put on it, then you've got some bonus tracks and people get some extra stuff, to listen to in their car, except the people who have a LP player in their car.
Yeah. I want to mention some things on that track. First of all, it features, is it Sylvie Vartan? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Which is very cool. She's I guess a French singer and actress, Armenian, Bulgarian background, I guess.
She was married to Johnny Holiday.
Yeah, very cool.
She is a very close friend of my wife.
Right.
And she was just more than pleased to help me out with that narration. And I think she did a tremendous job. It's terrific.
I want to mention too, Josette was an actress. She was a supporting actress in the miniseries Rich Man, Poor Man, which I saw. I remember when that came out.
Yeah.
That was a great, so many famous people were in that show. She
won a Golden Globe for that, for her performance in that.
That was incredible. I was going to mention, the track kind of reminded me of a Bobby Darin type, you can play that song in Vegas, and be really hip.
Well, that's, I told Michael Lloyd, I told Michael, I said, here's the song I wrote about Josette. And I said, we got to do it like Sinatra would do it.
Exactly.
And he took that arrangement and just nailed it. It sounds like a Sinatra track, but you're right. Bobby Darin, Sinatra, back in that genre, it works perfectly, but he nailed it. And that's exactly how I wanted it to sound. So I'm really happy. That's my single that's out right now. It's getting quite a bit of airplay over in Europe, actually. And,
well, if we decide to do LP on this, which, LP thing is so weird.
We're going to do that.
We can put that as a bonus on LP because I got to say my guys have done a great networking job to all the mom and pops places to get the LPs out, and now I do have a good distributor. And I think that there's got to be enough fans out there, and anything that's good that you want to put to vinyl, even though it takes a long time to do it. The real fans, the hardcore fans,
right?
They want it. They want an LP,
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to do that. I've been thinking about that, Mike. I'd very much like to do that. That'll be our next project.
Yeah.
Well, it's official. Tommy Roe is unretired. Thanks to Mr. Michael Franklin.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah.
Just recently, I was talking to some people, and they were complaining that Tommy was retired. This was maybe about 2 months ago.
You got a lot of fans out there, Tommy. I've been doing the research.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
my fan base has stuck with me all these years. They've kind of grown up with me, and I drag a few of the youngsters along, but and then my fan base that has stuck with me passes along to their children and their grandchildren. So it's really helped.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate my fans very much. They're terrific.
Michael, I've asked this of Tommy before in another interview, he's going to remember this. I'm going to put it to you now and see if this is a good idea. You know, he sings Sweet Pea with this young girl back in the 60s, and everybody goes on and on about that duo between him and the girl. They love it.
Yeah.
It's like very popular. So I told Tommy, I says, why don't you find the girl and recreate that again? I mean, people would go nuts. I think it'd be a great promo. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I think it would be great. You know, if you can find.
Well, I found her. What happened is she got in touch with. Anyway, what happened is she got in touch with my manager to see if she could get a copy of the video.
Right.
And so we managed to get in touch with Dick Carter, a copy of the video.
Okay.
She was beside herself. She
yeah,
went ballistic.
I figured.
So and you know, that video is over 5 million views.
Yes, I know.
It's unbelievable.
I know.
And we recorded that at Santa Monica Beach. I guess it was in '66. That's when Sweet Pea was a hit.
Yeah.
And that's when I was on Where the Action Is. And we recorded at Santa Monica Beach. But she's a doll. You know, I communicate with her. She's on the Facebook page and everything. She's just a sweetheart.
You know she'd do it with you.
Everybody thought she was my daughter. She kind of looked like me at the time, you know?
Exactly.
But what's interesting is her last name is the last name of my mother's side of the family.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of, you know, weird.
That is creepy. Strange. Something's telling you something here, Tommy.
Yeah, I know.
You know? I did not know, and I just found this out. I did not know the Beatles did a version of Sheila.
Yeah, they did.
Wow. On the bootleg album, live.
Yeah, at the Star Club in Germany.
Yeah.
They were basically, when they toured with Chris and I in 1963 in England, they were basically a cover band.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have any hits at the time. You know, they had their first hits during my tour.
Right.
Love Me Do, Please Please Me, and I Want to Hold Your Hand. So they were basically doing, you know, Twist and Shout and Maybelline, doing a lot of Chuck Berry stuff. They were a cover band, you know. But they covered Sheila. And interesting story about that. When I met the Beatles, the first day I met them, we had like a meeting before the tour and kind of go over what the tour was going to be like and rehearse and that kind of thing. And John runs up to me first thing, says, "Oh, it's good to meet you, Tommy. I'm such a fan." And he said, "You know, we do Sheila in our show." I said, "Oh man, that's great." He says, "But I think we're playing it wrong." I said, "Really? Well, how are you playing it?" He took his guitar out and started playing it. And sure enough, he had the chords backwards.
Yeah.
And I said, "It sounds good the way you're doing it, but you got the chords backwards. Just flip them around and you got it, you know?" And sure enough, when you hear that version of it's really a raw recording of Sheila from Star Club. Somebody did it on a little small machine of some kind. But when you hear it, I think George is singing it.
Yeah, George is singing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're playing all over around the melody with the chords. I mean, it's not correct at all. Yeah. But yeah, that was an interesting moment with John. I had a lot of interesting moments with John on that tour.
So you know, it's Mr. Montez also.
I started writing Everybody on that tour on the bus as we traveled around England.
Yeah.
And John used to let me borrow his Gibson guitar to write songs. Him and Paul were writing songs, of course. And I started writing Everybody and finished it I took the Queen Elizabeth back to New York, 5-day trip from England to New York. And I finished it on that trip back. But that guitar recently sold at auction for $2.5 million.
Oh, man. Wow.
You know, that old Gibson guitar on that bus. You know, you think about it, it's got to be worth at least 3.5 now that they know I wrote Everybody on it, right?
Incredible. I had all the Beatles autographs and I sold it to a guy in England a long time ago. Big mistake. Yeah. Big mistake. Man, I got to ask you about this. I had Dave Mason on the show not long ago, and he lost all this material like you did. in that fire. And
Oh,
I
at
asked
Universal?
them, yeah, I asked them, did the insurance cover it? Did you get compensated at all? And he just laughed at me. Same thing. You didn't get any,
Yeah, same thing. But
nothing.
I got my lawyers to get in touch with them about
Right.
that, and they said all of my stuff was spared. That my
Really?
stuff did not get.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Didn't know
I
that.
don't know if that's true or not because I haven't seen the tapes.
Mm-hmm.
But because we were going to pursue a lawsuit with them about it,
Right.
So they convinced my attorney that they have it, so we just dropped it. But they lost a lot of good music in that fire, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know. Should be some insurance or something that you guys get compensated. I mean, that's
I
not
would
right.
think so, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure how that panned out, what the
Yeah.
results of that was.
Mm. You know, I'm from DC originally, okay? And I've got friends that were at that Beatles concert that you performed at
Oh,
in
yeah,
'64 at the Coliseum. I didn't know
yeah,
they did an anniversary in 2014 to recreate that 50th
yeah,
anniversary concert. I had no idea. And I saw
yeah, that
you
was,
on YouTube performing at that show.
yeah. Boy, it was cold just like the was in 1964. It was freezing. And nothing changed. It was cold in 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, they invited me to do that, and Paul was supposed to be there, but he couldn't get there because of the weather.
Hmm.
And but it was a big. They had a huge crowd there, and it was really kind of a fun thing to do. We got a lot of good PR out of it, and I met the guy Mike Mitchell who took all those great photos of the
Right.
Beatles show,
Yep.
and he sent me some photos he took of me. I guess I'm the only other artist that was there that has any photos from that night
Hmm.
from Mike. So I was glad to get my hands on them. There's one of me on stage. What's funny is they wouldn't let my band sit up on stage because the Beatles stuff was already on stage.
Yeah.
And so my band had to sit up in front, like in the pit, like
Hmm.
a, a musical pit for the orchestra, an orchestra pit. It'll come out. But so they were down in front of me, and I was on stage by myself. And there's a picture of me that Mike took. Where I'm in front of the Beatles, where Ringo's drums, and it's got the Beatles on it.
Yeah.
It's really a classic photo. I mean, I've never seen another artist in front of their setup like that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Poor Ringo had to keep moving his drum set, or to.
Well,
that was,
the stage was a boxing ring.
yeah.
I mean, they used to do boxing matches in there.
Yeah.
So the stage was the boxing ring without the ropes.
Hmm.
And so, a boxing ring is like a
Yeah.
trampoline.
Exactly.
So that's why I don't know how he played drums really, because if you watch that video, he's bouncing up and down
Yeah.
like on a trampoline. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I
And
saw
of
the
course
circus there when I was a kid at the arena.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
The original concert, the tickets for the show were $2 to $4. There were
yeah,
8,092 fans at the show. The
yeah.
chiffons were supposed to open, but they didn't show up, and Jay and the Americans were the replacement, right? And you
Well,
only played two songs.
I've been asked this many times, who were the other artists there? And I tell you the truth, I never saw any other artist on stage but
Really?
myself.
They said it was Jay and the
And
Americans, but I don't know.
the Caravels was the band supposed to back up the other artist. And I saw Jay at the hotel, and I saw the Righteous Brothers at the hotel, but I never saw them at the show.
Hmm.
So I never really got in fact, people ask me about that all the time. Who else was on the show? And I tell you, I don't know. All I know is I did my 2 or 3 songs. I did Everybody and Sheila, I think. Was all. Oh, I did Carol too. I did Everybody, Sheila, and Carol.
Right.
The Chuck Berry Carol.
Yeah. Mike,
But I
I just
never
wanted
saw
to go ahead.
That's it. I just never saw any of the other artists there.
Yeah. Michael, I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. I know you've been extremely busy, and especially with solar music. I mean, the Robbie Steinhardt album was a smash. Not in Kansas anymore. I had Rich Williams on recently. We talked about Robbie, and Rich is such a nice guy. Um, of course, Blues Image, we're going to talk about that. The next voyage was, incredible. You got so many things going on. And I thank you for bringing all these great artists, and bringing a lot of the music we've never heard before or kind of ignored, I guess, in the past. So, yeah, solar
It's all
music's
worth it,
incredible.
Yeah. I mean, at this point in my life, the only thing that's important to me is doing good art.
Yep.
It's the only thing that's really important to me. I mean, friends and family and stuff, but I mean, as far as output, I've got a lot of ideas and I want to pursue them. It's just like this thing with Lou, that's been brewing we did some songs. I can still remember the words of these songs 40 years later. So I said, Lou, why don't we do this record? I mean, I can sing the songs to you. He said, okay, well, we should do it then. I said, I'm doing the same sort of agreement I do with everybody. I want to do the music, and especially like doing the music of the people I really care about.
That's right.
Or I really feel it. I mean, John Anderson is probably, was one of my favorite artists, and now I'm producing him. Robbie was one of my great friends, and I'm producing him. Tommy's a lifelong friend.
Yeah.
It just makes sense to me.
Sure.
And, and I'm doing stuff in my own time. It's not a pressure. There's no pressure. And generally with friends, you can talk about it. It's not like I'm a producer guy who just comes in. I got a friend who I've known for a long time. I know the sensibilities of the music and the personality. And then it's not going to be a conflict. It's not going to be like, oh, this guy's trying to get me to do whatever. No, I want to do what the artist wants to do, but I want to sort of guide them towards what I think in my world should happen to make it a success. Sonically.
Ray, it's kind of like Mike and I are at this stage of our career. We don't have anything left to prove, but I think we both have a lot left to offer.
Sure,
and it's
definitely.
It's like Mike was saying, I want to do as much as I can while I still can, because I think I've got so much in me that I want to accomplish.
Yep.
So that's kind of what drives me as well. Money doesn't mean anything to me anymore with records. It's strictly doing the art.
Yep.
I sort of saw what was going to happen with Tommy. I got a photo that I was out in California. Every time I go out to California, I would bring up Tommy. We would do something. We go out to dinner. We go over to see Arthur Arslanian. We would whatever. I'd go to his house. Every time I go out there, I sort of saw the writing on the wall. After Josette passed, it's going to be sort of a period where, he's retired. He doesn't want to do anything. But then he started being an artist again. And so things that he doesn't know is I'm hearing all these brewings of people saying, man, I wish Tommy Roe would come out of retirement. We need more people, good people on these shows, because they got the Dovels and the Schmovels and the Devels and the Hovels, and the shows don't make any sense when you got like one good artist on a show, and then you've got the rest of a show full up of all these people who never were on a record, never were in the original lineup. And it's kind of, I quit doing all those kind of shows because I was doing different kind of shows. But every time I'm offered a show, it's like, who's on the show? I don't want to do that show. I mean, I could give you a whole hour about the weird stuff that would happen on the shows. We played a show one time, well, a couple years ago, when they got me to do a show. The band was called the Clovers. You know the Clovers, right?
Yeah.
1 Minute Julep. Now, I love the Clovers. I never had a chance to play with the Clovers. So when the guy said, hey, the Clovers are on the show, I said, man, I'm in. I want to play that, right? We get there, the whole show is tracked. Everything was Jimmy Velvet and the Skyliners tracked. It was the Flamingos tracked. It was some other band tracked. And then it was the Clovers. The Clovers are tracked? Really? I mean, I got to go up there and fake. Why are you even hiring good musicians? Just get a bunch of bozos to go up there and fake it, because it's all right. So here's the clincher. So I had all these great guys, my brother on bass, Paul Parker on drums, Tommy Kelton on guitar, Charlie DeShant on saxophone, and me on piano. And we practiced the Clover stuff from the music that sent me because I didn't know it was tracks.
Yeah.
So the second half of the show, we go up and they go, ladies and gentlemen, the Clovers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Clovers. The Clovers come out. There's no music. I go, 1, 2, 1. We blasted that stuff. We played the whole show with the band, all the songs, and those guys, they lit up. They were like, oh my God. Afterwards, they came downstairs and they were looking for the band. Man, where's that band? Man, you guys did this and this and this. And then I said something about, well, you know, man, you can really play some music when you got some great songs. You don't have to play to those tracks. And one guy, I can't say who he is, he was with one of the big bands, walked by the door as soon as I was said that. And he says, are you talking about me? And I said, if the foo shits. So he went and complained to he said, man, you will never play one of these shows ever again. I'm going to talk to the promoter. You're disrespectful. All I said was, I don't like playing the tracks, and I'm glad we didn't play tracks to your stuff. Yeah. So he went and talked to the promoter, Henry Farrig, Tommy.
Oh, Henry, yeah.
Right? So he went up and complained to Henry that, you know, man, I don't ever want you to hire that guy. And Henry looked at him, he goes, do you know who that guy is? He don't give a, you know, and he told, it was just so funny. We cracked up so much from the whole experience of that. But, you know, I just don't like playing those shows with fake people.
Yeah, I agree.
Tracks.
I don't like covering those shows either. Yeah.
Tommy's thing is the real deal, man. Yep. And, you know, we enjoy playing it.
Listen,
I got a great picture of us playing in Germany,
yep.
You know, with the stage in the background. I remember that day so well. But, you know, going up there and being the band for an artist and not having to play with everybody else, just a dedicated band to that music. And going up there and doing it and do it, you know, you're not tired from doing 5 other acts and you don't have to remember all the other stuff from the other act. You go up there and you do your show with your artist. Bam, you're done. Thank you very much. Wow, it was great. You know?
Michael, I gotta wrap it up because Panera is going to come on in a few minutes. I just want to say you can purchase the latest release by Tommy Roe, From Here to Here, produced by Michael Franklin at www.solarmusic.com. Now, that's the best place to buy the album, right?
Yep.
Solar Music, right? Okay. Tommy Roe's autobiography, From Cabbagetown to Tinseltown, and Place in Between. That's at Amazon.com. Everybody should definitely pick a copy of that as well. And you can, for more information about Tommy Roe and Michael Franklin, TommyRoe.com, www.conventionmusic.com for Michael Franklin, and of course, Solar Music, www.solarmusic.com. I want to thank both of you for being on the show today. Tommy, it's a pleasure to see you again, man.
You too, Ray.
For everything that you put out from now until whenever, I'm there for you. Okay?
Oh, thanks so much.
Love you guys. Again, one of my favorite artists, and you know, I'm so glad you're back. I really am.
Thank you. I think it's good to be back.
I think the audiences and Tommy are going to enjoy this next phase of Tommy Roe.
I think so. I think you're right. And your fans have been waiting. They're going to be very happy. Thank you so much, guys. Michael, okay. I'm gonna end this call and then you can jump back in. Okay.
Okay, man. See you, Tom. Right,
Thank you, Tommy.
Be safe.
Talk soon.
You too, man. Take care.
All right.
Bye.